This is Station Alpha, broadcasting from the shadows of a shattered Earth. If you're listening to this, you're still alive. Stay with me. It's been 327 days since the world ended as we knew it. The skies turned to fire, and the ground beneath our feet shattered like brittle glass. The cities, our so-called monuments to progress and power, now lie silent, buried under ash and regret. If you're hearing this, you've made it. Somehow, through all of it, the chaos, the destruction, the impossible choices, you've survived. And that survival, even if it feels hollow right now, means something. You mean something. This broadcast isn't just a voice echoing in the void. It's a reminder that we are still here. Broken, yes, but alive. And as long as we're alive, we can find purpose in this shattered world. The air tonight feels heavier than usual. There's a stillness that presses down, thick and suffocating. Maybe it's the fallout in the atmosphere, or maybe it's something else, something watching, just out of sight. Have you felt it too? That sense that we're not truly alone even when there's no one else around? Tonight, I want to talk about survival. Not just keeping your body alive, but holding on to what makes us human. It's easy to lose that out here. Isolation does things to your mind. Silence becomes a weight, pressing against your thoughts, making you question everything. But you've held on, you've fought. You're not alone in that fight. There are others out there, scattered across this wasteland. People like you, people who are scared, broken, and clinging to fragments of hope. This broadcast is for them, for you, for anyone who still believes there's something worth fighting for. Survivors, if you've tuned in before, you know what we do here. We share stories of struggle, of resilience, of strange and unexplainable events in this new world. These stories remind us that no matter how bleak things may seem, we are still connected. Even if it's just through a faint radio signal, we are still a community. So let me start with this. The other night, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the darkness swallowed the land, I saw something. A flash of light just beyond the ridge to the west. It wasn't like the flashes we saw when the bombs fell. No, this was different. It pulsed, almost alive, like a heartbeat. It lasted only a moment, but it was enough to send chills down my spine. What was it? A signal? A warning? Or something worse? I don't have answers, but I know this. I'm not the only one who's seen it. Other survivors have reported similar sightings. Strange lights, unexplained noises, shadows that don't seem to belong. If you've seen something, if you felt something, you're not imagining it. This new world is full of mysteries, and not all of them can be explained by science or logic. There's more out there than we understand, more than we might ever understand. But for now, our focus must be survival, not just surviving the environment, the poisoned air, the scarcity of food and water, but surviving ourselves. The loneliness, the fear, the doubt, these are our greatest enemies now. That's why I'm here speaking to you through the remnants of these radio waves, to remind you that you're not alone, to remind you that your fight matters. Tonight, we'll explore some of the stories that have reached me through this static-filled connection, stories of people who have faced the unthinkable and endured, people who have seen the worst of this world and still found reasons to keep going. And maybe, just maybe, we'll find some answers. Or, at the very least, we'll find comfort in knowing that we're not as isolated as we feel. So, survivors, if you're listening, stay with me. Stay alive and stay ready. This is Station Alpha, and together, we'll face whatever comes next. If you're hearing my voice, you've outlived the inferno and the fallout. You've endured the ash-filled skies and the radioactive rain. But survival, as you've likely learned, is a cruel teacher. Every breath, every step, every choice feels heavier now. Let's talk about the world as it is, not as it was. The Earth we knew, the one with its vibrant cities, boundless forests, and glittering oceans, is gone. What's left is a haunting echo of that world, twisted and scorched. The nuclear war tore through everything, reducing monuments of human achievement to rubble. The bombs didn't discriminate. They fell on cities and countrysides alike, leaving behind scars that will last for millennia. The skies, once blue and infinite, are now a suffocating gray. Ash and soot hang heavy in the atmosphere, blotting out the sun. When the sun does pierce through, its light is dim and orange, casting a sickly glow over the wasteland. It's as though the heavens themselves are mourning what we've lost. And when the rain comes, if you can call it that, it's thick, caustic, and deadly. But it's not just the destruction we wrought on ourselves that defines this new reality. It's what came after. The ships, massive and otherworldly, they descended from the poisoned sky, their presence as silent as it was terrifying. They hovered above the ruins of our cities, observing us like insects trapped in a jar. I still remember the first time I saw one. It was just after the first wave of bombs. The air was still thick with smoke, and the ground was hot to the touch. And then there it was, a monolith of shimmering black, so vast it seemed to swallow the sky. It made no sound, but its presence was deafening. At first, we thought they were here to help. After all, why else would they arrive in the aftermath of our self-destruction? But then the lights came, pulsing beams of radiant energy that swept across the land, erasing everything in their path. People, buildings, even the ground itself. Gone, as if they had never existed. Survivors who've seen these lights describe a strange sensation, a pulling, almost like gravity, but upward. Some say they heard voices, faint and indistinct, calling to them. Others speak of visions, fragmented and incomprehensible, flashing before their eyes. Whatever these lights are, they're not natural. They're not of this world. And what of the disappearances? Entire towns have been wiped off the map, leaving behind nothing but empty space. No bodies, no ruins, just silence. It's as if the earth itself swallowed them whole. But it's not just settlements. People disappear too. One moment they're there and the next, gone. The ships don't stay in one place. They move, slowly and deliberately, as if they're scanning the planet. But what are they looking for? Survivors? Resources? Or something else entirely? And what happens when they find it? Then there are the signals, strange bursts of static that interrupt the silence of the airwaves. They're not random, they're deliberate. The patterns, the frequencies, they're too structured to be natural. Some believe they're attempts at communication, messages from the ships to each other or to us. Others think they're warnings or even traps, designed to draw survivors out of hiding. I've tried to decode them, but they defy logic. The sounds are unlike anything I've ever heard. A mix of tones and rhythms that seem to burrow into your mind. Sometimes when I listen too long, I hear whispers, faint and distant, as if someone or something is speaking just beyond the edge of understanding. And then there's the land itself. The nuclear fallout has transformed the earth into a hostile and alien environment. The soil is barren, incapable of supporting life. Rivers and lakes are polluted, their waters toxic and lifeless. What little vegetation remains is twisted and mutated, as if the very DNA of the planet has been rewritten. The animals that survived are no longer the creatures we once knew. They've been changed, warped by radiation into grotesque forms. Wolves with too many eyes, birds that don't just fly but hover, their wings moving faster than the eye can follow. And then there are the things that aren't animals at all. Shapes that slither through the darkness, their movements unnatural and unsettling. But the strangest thing about this new world is what you don't see. The shadows, the flickers of movement just at the edge of your vision. Survivors speak of feeling watched, even when they're alone, of hearing footsteps behind them, only to turn and find nothing there. And the dreams, they're the worst. Nightmares of being taken, of floating in a void surrounded by faceless figures. They're so vivid, so real, that when you wake up, you're not sure if you're still dreaming. Humanity has changed too. The survivors are scattered, clinging to life in isolated pockets. Some have formed communities, fragile alliances built on mutual need and distrust. Others have turned feral, their humanity stripped away by desperation and fear. And then there are the anomalies, people who've been affected. They speak of heightened senses, of seeing and hearing things that shouldn't be possible. Some claim to have developed strange abilities, unnatural strength, the ability to sense danger, even visions of the future. Is it the radiation, the presence of the ships, or something else entirely? This is the reality we face now. A world where the line between the natural and the unnatural has blurred, where survival is a constant battle against forces we barely understand. But despite everything we endure, we cling to life, even when it feels like there's nothing left to live for. Maybe it's hope, maybe it's instinct, or maybe it's the refusal to let this new world break us completely. If you're listening to this, you're part of that fight. You're not alone, no matter how isolated you may feel. There are others out there, others like you, struggling to survive, to find meaning in the chaos. Each day in this wasteland is a victory, but it's one that leaves scars. Surviving isn't just about escaping the obvious threats. It's about the choices, the sacrifices, and the unrelenting weight of simply staying alive. Out there, beyond the ruins of our cities and the poisoned skies, the struggle never stops. Hunger gnaws at our bellies, thirst dries our throats, and distrust turns every encounter into a potential conflict. This new world tests us every second, and not everyone is strong enough to endure. Let's talk about food. The nuclear blasts didn't just annihilate our cities. They poisoned the very earth beneath our feet. Once fertile fields are now barren wastelands, their soil turned to ash. Crops wither before they can grow, and even the wild plants that once thrived in the harshest conditions are gone or mutated into grotesque forms that reek of death. Elliot's story haunts me. He called in a few weeks ago, his voice trembling as he recounted his discovery of what he thought was a lifeline, an untouched stash of canned goods in an old supermarket. But the food inside was spoiled, its contents blackened and rancid. Desperation drove him to eat it anyway. His last words to me were a warning. It's all poisoned. Even the things we thought were safe are killing us now. And when you do find something edible, there's another hurdle: keeping it. Trust is a currency no one has anymore. Survivors don't see each other as allies. They see each other as competition. A stranger could just as easily take your last piece of bread as share their own. And that reality weighs on every interaction. Take Jacob, for example. He led a small group of survivors who found refuge in an old library. At first, he kept the group united, organizing efforts to scavenge and ration supplies. But power has a way of twisting even the best intentions. When food ran low, Jacob began hoarding what little they had, rationing it only to those who swore loyalty to him. Those who questioned his authority were exiled, left to fend for themselves in the wasteland. One of them, a young woman named Kara, barely made it out alive. She told me. He called it leadership. I call it tyranny. Even families aren't immune to the fractures this world creates. Clara's story is one I can't forget. She and her brother survived the initial bombings together, scavenging what they could and sharing everything. But when food ran out, her brother made a choice. One night, while Clara slept, he took their remaining supplies and disappeared. She woke up to nothing but silence and the crushing weight of betrayal. And yet, these aren't the only threats. If you've been listening to this broadcast, you've heard me talk about the lights, the strange pulsing orbs that appear in the sky. Survivors describe them as mesmerizing, almost hypnotic. But they're not a sign of hope. They're a harbinger of doom. Entire settlements have vanished beneath these lights, erased as if they never existed. Shadow, a lone wanderer, told me about a town he stumbled upon just days before it disappeared. It was a thriving place, he said. They'd built something real, homes, gardens, even a small school for the kids. And then the lights came. I saw it happen from the ridge. One moment, they were there. The next, the light swept over them, and nothing. Not even rubble. Just emptiness. What are these lights? Weapons, scanners, tools for some incomprehensible purpose? No one knows. And that's the most terrifying part, the uncertainty. The ships themselves are no less ominous. They hang in the sky like dark monoliths, massive and silent. Their presence feels suffocating, as if they're watching, waiting. Survivors have reported beams of light descending from these ships, pulling people into the sky. Those taken never return, or worse. They come back changed, their minds fractured and their bodies marked with scars that defy explanation. But let's not forget the human element, the choices we're forced to make every day. Victor, another survivor, called in recently to share his story. He and a small group found refuge in an underground bunker. It was cramped and dark, but it was safe until it wasn't. Food ran out quickly and tensions rose. One night they caught a teenage boy, sneaking extra rations. The group was divided. Some wanted to forgive him, others demanded punishment. In the end, they banished him. Victor's voice cracked as he told me this. He was just a kid, he said. But we couldn't take the risk. I'll never forget the look on his face as he walked into the darkness. These moral dilemmas aren't unique to Victor. Every survivor faces them. Do you share your resources with a stranger, knowing it might mean your own death? Do you risk venturing into dangerous territory for a chance at supplies? Or do you stay hidden and starve? Survival isn't just about endurance. It's about the choices you make and the weight of those choices. And then there's the psychological toll. Loneliness, paranoia, guilt. These are as deadly as any physical threat. Survivors talk about the silence, how it presses down on you until it's unbearable. They speak of hearing voices in the dark, whispers that aren't there. Some say it's the stress, others blame the radiation. But a few believe it's something else entirely, something born from the alien presence that now dominates our world. The signals don't help. Those strange bursts of static encoded messages that interrupt the airwaves are growing more frequent. They're not random. There's a pattern to them, a rhythm that feels deliberate. I've spent hours listening to them, trying to decipher their meaning. Sometimes I think I hear whispers buried in the noise, faint, indistinct voices that send chills down my spine. But amidst all this darkness, there are glimmers of light. Elena, a survivor who stumbled upon a small group hiding in the ruins of an old hospital, found hope where she least expected it. Despite their own struggles, they welcomed her, sharing what little they had. They reminded me, she said, that even in a world like this, there's still kindness, there's still humanity. These moments are rare, but they matter. They remind us that we're not just survivors, we're people. And as long as we hold on to that, there's hope. But hope is fragile. The Oleans, or whatever they are, seem intent on testing our limits. Their presence is a constant reminder that we're not alone. And that's not always a comfort. The ships continue to hover, their purpose a mystery. The lights continue to appear, their intentions unknown. And the signals, those haunting, incomprehensible messages, keep coming. Each one a reminder of how little we understand about what's happening to our world. Survivors, I've shared countless stories of resilience and despair, of the mysteries that haunt our fractured world. But tonight, I bring you something different, something that could change the course of our existence. A revelation. 3 nights ago, a signal broke through the usual static. It wasn't the fragmented bursts of alien frequencies or garbled nonsense we've come to expect. No, this was different. It was deliberate, human. The message was faint but clear. This is Echo 7. If you're hearing this, you're not alone. We found something. Coordinates enclosed. Come prepared. The future depends on it. The message repeated in intervals, the coordinates embedded like a beacon. I stared at them for hours, debating whether to act. Was it real or another cruel trick? Survivors have been known to lure others into traps with false promises of safety. But this voice, it carried urgency, desperation. I couldn't ignore it. The coordinates pointed to a remote area deep in the wasteland, far beyond any known settlements. No one I've spoken to had ever ventured that far. The thought of going there terrified me, but curiosity and something deeper, perhaps hope, pushed me forward. The journey was harrowing. The wasteland stretched endlessly before me. A barren expanse of ash and ruin. The air was thick with radiation, every breath a reminder of the poisoned world we now inhabit. I moved under cover of darkness, avoiding open spaces where the alien ships might spot me. After 2 nights of careful travel, I arrived. The sight before me was unlike anything I'd ever seen. A massive crater, perfectly circular, stretched out before me, its edges glowing faintly with an otherworldly blue light. At its center stood an object, no, an artifact that defied explanation. The artifact was monumental, easily the size of a building, and its surface gleamed like liquid metal frozen in time. It pulsed rhythmically, emitting a low hum that seemed to vibrate in my very bones. The air around it was charged, electric, as if the artifact itself was alive. I approached cautiously, every step a battle between fear and fascination. The closer I got, the more intricate the artifact appeared. Patterns etched into its surface, shifted and moved as if in response to my presence. They weren't random. They were purposeful. They reminded me of the signals we've intercepted, the strange bursts of static that have plagued our airwaves. And then it reacted. The artifact's pulse quickened, its light intensifying until it bathed the entire crater in a blinding glow. A beam of energy shot skyward, piercing the ash-filled sky. It was dazzling, impossible to look away from, and in that moment, I felt it, a presence. The voice came next. It wasn't human, yet its meaning was clear. The choice is yours, unity or extinction. The light faded, and the artifact returned to its steady hum. I stood there, stunned, my mind racing to comprehend what had just happened. Unity or extinction? What did it mean? Was this a warning? A threat? A plea? I didn't have time to ponder. The air around me grew heavy, charged with an unspoken tension. I wasn't alone. Figures began to emerge from the shadows at the crater's edge. They weren't human. Tall, slender, and otherworldly, their forms shimmered like heat waves, blending seamlessly with the environment. They moved with a fluid grace that was both mesmerizing and terrifying. I froze, my heart pounding. The figures did approach, but their presence was enough to convey their intent. The artifact wasn't unguarded. I backed away slowly, hands raised to show I meant no harm. They watched me with unblinking focus, their movements eerily synchronized. I could feel their gaze, cold and calculating, as if they were measuring my worth, deciding whether I was a threat or simply insignificant. I retreated to the safety of the shadows, my mind still reeling. What was the artifact? And what were those beings? Guards, messengers, or something more sinister? The journey back was a blur. My thoughts raced with questions and possibilities. The artifact wasn't just a discovery. It was a message. A choice. But a choice for whom? And why now? Back in the relative safety of my shelter, I shared the coordinates with a few trusted survivors. Some of them are on their way now, drawn by the same sense of urgency that pushed me to go. But I must warn you all, this isn't just a discovery. It's a turning point. The artifact could be the key to everything. It might hold the answers we've been seeking, the purpose behind the alien presence, their intentions, and the strange signals that have haunted our airwaves. But it could also be a weapon, something so powerful it could reshape or destroy what little remains of our world. Survivors who have seen the artifact describe similar experiences. The patterns on its surface seem to react to their presence, shifting and changing as if responding to their thoughts. Some believe the artifact is sentient, alive, in a way we can't comprehend. Others think it's a test, a way to determine whether we're worthy of survival or extinction. But the artifact isn't the only revelation. The figures guarding it, those shadowy, fluid forms, are more than just watchers. Survivors who have tried to get too close report being attacked. The figures move with impossible speed, their forms flickering like shadows. They don't use weapons, they don't need to. Their very touch is lethal, leaving behind burns that glow faintly in the dark. And then there's the voice. Unity or extinction. What does unity mean? Does it mean aligning with the aliens, surrendering to their plans? Or does it mean uniting as a species, setting aside our differences to face this challenge together? The implications are staggering. If the artifact truly holds the power to change our fate, then we can't ignore it. But we can't approach it recklessly either. The risks are too great. This is the moment, survivors. The choice we make now will define what remains of humanity. Do we risk everything to uncover the artifact's secrets, to take control of our destiny? Or do we retreat, clinging to the fragile safety we've carved out in this broken world? The artifact could unite us, give us a purpose beyond mere survival. But it could also destroy us, tearing apart what little hope we have left. And then there's the question of the voice. Why did it speak to me? Why now? And what happens if we make the wrong choice? I don't have the answers, but I know this. We can't ignore the artifact. Whatever it is, it's too important. It's a turning point, and it demands our attention. If you're listening to this and you have the courage to face the unknown, the coordinates are yours. But be prepared. This isn't just a journey. It's a test of our courage, our unity, and our humanity. Survivors. Tonight, I want to share the stories that matter most, not of artifacts or alien ships, but of us. These are your stories, tales of resilience, heartbreak, hope, and humanity. They remind us that even in the shadow of annihilation, we're still connected by the fragile threads of our shared experience. Let me begin with Clara's story. Clara called in a few weeks ago. Her voice was soft, hesitant, the kind of tone that belongs to someone carrying a heavy weight. She and her brother had survived the first waves together. The bombs, the fallout, the alien attacks. They were inseparable, a team against the chaos. But the hunger broke them. We hadn't eaten in days, she said. We were too weak to search, too scared to leave our hiding spot. Then, out of nowhere, he found food. Cans hidden in an old cabinet. Relief flooded them. For the first time in weeks, they thought they might make it. But when Clara woke the next morning, her brother and the food was gone. I don't blame him, she told me. I tell myself he was scared, desperate. Maybe he thought it was the only way to survive. But it doesn't make it hurt any less. Clara has continued on her own, but she carries the scars of that morning. Sometimes I wonder if he's alive, she said, if he ever looks back and thinks about me. Her story reminds us how this world forces impossible choices, how survival can tear even the strongest bonds apart. Victor was part of a group hiding in the ruins of a hospital. For weeks, they survived on scavenged supplies, rationed to the bare minimum. But scarcity breeds mistrust, and their fragile unity began to fracture. One night, Victor caught a young boy stealing extra food. The group erupted. Some wanted to punish the boy harshly. Others called for mercy. The debate raged, but Victor, as their de facto leader, had to make the final decision. I wanted to forgive him, he said. But the others, they were so angry. They needed someone to blame. Victor exiled the boy. He didn't argue, didn't even cry, Victor said. He just looked at me. It was the kind of look that stays with you, like he was already dead. The decision tore Victor apart. I keep telling myself it was the right thing to do, he said. But was it? I don't know. I don't think I'll ever know. Victor's story is one of leadership in a world that offers no easy answers, only choices that haunt you long after they're made. Elena's story is different. It's one of hope, of humanity refusing to crumble under the weight of despair. She found a small group of survivors in the ruins of a village. They had created something rare, a community. They shared food, built shelters, and even set up a small garden in the radioactive soil. They welcomed me like I was family, she said. They didn't ask where I'd come from or what I'd done to survive. They just accepted me. Elena stayed with them for weeks, sharing their struggles and their triumphs. They reminded me that we're more than just survivors. We're people. And as long as we remember that, there's still hope. Her voice cracked as she described leaving the village to search for others. I didn't want to go, she said, but if I can find more people, if I can bring them back to what we've built, it's worth it. Anna's story is one of unyielding hope. She called in, her voice trembling, to share her search for her daughter. The two had been separated during an alien attack. Anna had hidden the girl in a cellar, promising to return, but when she did, the cellar was empty. I don't know if she's alive, Anna said, but I have to believe she is. If I stop believing, I stop living. Anna described her daughter in heartbreaking detail. Brown hair, a yellow sweater with a little bear embroidered on it. She's smart, brave, Anna said. If anyone can survive, it's her. Through tears, Anna pleaded with anyone listening. If you find her, please, tell her I'm looking for her. Tell her I'll never stop. Her story is a reminder of the bonds that keep us going, even in the face of unimaginable loss. Shadow called in with a voice as steady as stone. He's a lone wanderer, moving constantly, never staying in one place for too long. I've seen things, he said, things that don't make sense. Lights in the sky that move like they're alive. Shadows that don't belong to anything. But I keep going, because stopping means giving up. And I'm not ready to give up. Shadow spoke of the creatures he's encountered. Mutated beasts with glowing eyes. Things that move in ways no living thing should. They're out there, he said, watching us, waiting. I don't know what they're waiting for, but it scares me. Despite his fear, Shadow's determination is unshakable. This world is broken, he said, but it's still ours, and I'm not letting go. Jacob's story comes not from him, but from those who escaped him. He had taken control of a small group, rationing supplies and enforcing strict rules. At first it worked, but power can corrupt even the best intentions. He started hoarding food, one survivor told me. He made us fight for scraps while he ate in secret. If you questioned him, you didn't eat. If you tried to leave, he called it betrayal. Eventually, the group rebelled. They overpowered him and fled, leaving him behind. "We don't know if he's still alive," they said, "and honestly, we don't care." Jacob's story is a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power, even in a world where survival is the ultimate goal. I don't often share my own story, but perhaps it's time. When the bombs fell, I was in a city, surrounded by chaos. I watched buildings collapse, saw people running in every direction. I ran too. Somehow I survived. I found this station by accident, hidden in the ruins of an old broadcasting tower. At first, it was just shelter, a place to hide from the horrors outside. But as I explored, I realized the station still worked. I started broadcasting, not knowing if anyone was listening. And then, one day, someone answered, "Your stories are what keep me going." They remind me that even in this broken world, we're still connected. We're still human. These story survivors are just a few of the countless voices I've heard. Each one is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. We've lost so much: our homes, our loved ones, our sense of safety. But we haven't lost everything. We still have each other. As long as we keep sharing our stories, we'll never truly be alone. Survivors, I've been your voice in this void, your lifeline in the dark. But tonight, I feel the weight of something far beyond my comprehension. The signals, the lights, the artifact, they've been speaking to us in pieces, fragments, of a story we're only just beginning to understand. And now something is changing. Something is coming. The signals we've been hearing for months, those cryptic bursts of alien tones and incomprehensible static, are no longer random. They've become rhythmic, deliberate. There's a pattern now, a sequence that feels alive. I've been monitoring them, recording every transmission, and over the past 48 hours, they've intensified. At first, I thought it was just interference, a spike in activity caused by the artifact or the ships. But then, buried in the static, I began to hear words. Human words. "They're coming. Stay hidden." Who is sending this message? Is it from survivors, warning us of what's to come? Or is it from the aliens themselves, taunting us with our impending fate? The voice is faint, distorted, but unmistakable. It repeats every few minutes, growing more urgent each time. But that's not the only change. The signals now include something else, a countdown. I didn't notice it at first, but the numbers are there, ticking down in intervals. What happens when it reaches zero? I don't know, but the closer it gets, the more restless the air becomes. Last night, the sky lit up with a brilliance I hadn't seen since the first bombs fell. At first, I thought it was another attack, a flash of nuclear fire igniting the horizon, but this was different. The light wasn't chaotic, it was controlled, deliberate. Ships, dozens of them, descending from the clouds like falling stars. They moved in perfect unison, their angular shapes slicing through the ash-filled sky. The glow of their engines bathed the wasteland in an eerie orange light, casting long, jagged shadows across the ruins. For hours, I watched as they formed a line, hovering just above the horizon. They didn't move closer, didn't unleash their devastating lights. They simply waited, as if they were positioning themselves for something. And then, just as suddenly as they appeared, they vanished. The sky went dark, leaving only the faint hum of their presence lingering in the air. This morning, I stepped outside the station to investigate. That's when I saw them. Tracks in the ash. They weren't human. The prints were enormous, far larger than any footprint I've ever seen, and they pressed deep into the ground, as if made by something impossibly heavy. They started at the edge of the tree line and stopped abruptly near the station, as if whoever, or whatever, made them had simply disappeared. I followed the tracks back to their origin, hoping to find some clue as to what had been here. But there was nothing. No broken branches, no displaced rubble, just those tracks, perfectly preserved in the ash. It feels like a warning. But of what? The artifact, too, has been reacting. Survivors who visited it in recent days report strange activity. The patterns on its surface, once slow and methodical, now shift and ripple like waves on water. The pulses of light have grown stronger, more erratic, and the hum it emits has deepened into a low, resonant vibration that you can feel in your chest. One survivor described hearing a voice coming from the artifact, a voice clearer than anything we've heard before. It said, "Prepare. They are near." The guardians, those shadowy figures that have long been the artifact's silent watchers, have become more active as well. Survivors report seeing them farther from the crater, their movements more deliberate, more aggressive. One survivor barely escaped an encounter. He described being chased by 3 of the figures, their forms flickering like static as they moved. They didn't make a sound, he said, but I could feel them. They weren't just watching, they were hunting. The artifact is trying to tell us something, but its message is fragmented, incomplete. It's as if it's struggling against interference, fighting to make itself heard. Tonight, I discovered something that chilled me to the core. While analyzing the latest signal recordings, I noticed a faint background noise, a sound I initially dismissed as static. But when I isolated it, I realized it wasn't random. It was breathing, slow, deep, and rhythmic, like the breath of something massive. It's not human. Whatever is behind this signal, it's alive, and it's listening. The countdown embedded in the signals is nearing its end. The numbers, once faint and sporadic, are now clear and unrelenting. Every passing moment brings us closer to whatever lies at the end of this sequence. I've tried to broadcast over the signals to reach out to anyone who might have answers, but the airwaves are clogged. It's as if the signals are drowning out everything else, silencing the world in preparation for what's to come. And then, just moments ago, I saw it again. The lights are back, sweeping across the wasteland with a precision that feels intentional. They're not like the distant orbs we've seen before. These are closer, more focused. They move in patterns, searching. I killed the lights in the station, hoping to avoid detection. But as I watched through the cracks in the shutters, I saw one of the lights pause. Hovering just above the station, it stayed there for what felt like an eternity, its glow penetrating the walls, bathing the room in an otherworldly brilliance. And then, without warning, it was gone. If you're hearing this, survivors, I need you to listen carefully. Something is coming. Something bigger than anything we've faced before. The signals, the lights, the artifact, they're all leading to this moment. I don't know what's waiting for us at the end of this countdown. Maybe it's salvation. Maybe it's annihilation. But one thing is certain. We're out of time. Stay hidden. Find shelter. Trust no one. And if you're near the artifact, leave. Whatever it's preparing for, you don't want to be there when it happens. This is Station Alpha. The hum in the air is growing louder now, shaking the walls of the station. The lights are back, sweeping across the landscape with terrifying precision. I can see them in the distance, growing closer with each pass. I don't know if I'll make it through the night. But if this is the last time you hear my voice, know this. You are not alone. We faced the unimaginable and survived. We've endured loss, betrayal, and fear. Stay strong, stay human, and stay alive. As I sign off, the countdown reaches its final moments. The signals are deafening now, the numbers echoing in my mind. 3, 2, 1. And then silence. For the first time since the signals began, the airwaves are quiet. The hum has stopped. The lights are gone. But in the distance, I see something. A shape on the horizon. Massive and indistinct. Silhouetted against the ash-filled sky. It's moving, and it's coming. If you found this broadcast engaging, please like and share the video. Your support means everything to us in these trying times. Do you have feedback or suggestions? Let us know in the comments. We're always listening to you, our audience. We're bringing you daily broadcasts, diving deeper into these mysteries and stories of survival. So please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to stay updated. We'll be back tomorrow with another radio broadcast, bringing you more from the shadows of this broken world. This is Station Alpha, signing off. Until next time, stay safe, stay human, and stay alive.